Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our program Languages of the World. Here we are once again for another episode of English, and on this episode we're going to talk about something really interesting. We're going to talk about music and a very musical character that you all know, which is Beethoven. But let me first welcome my guest, Ms. Heba. Hello, Ms. Heba.
Hi, Yasser, how are you?
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, I guess everybody loves music, you know. It's,
yeah, sure. Of course, all of us love music because nature is musical. If you listen to the sparrows, if you listen to the water, everything around us is musical.
Yeah.
So yes, by nature we love music.
Yeah, and you know, I love watching drama, watching movies, and without music, you know,
You will not enjoy the drama
yeah.
or the movies without music, because it is part actually of the making of movies and drama.
Yeah.
To have music in them.
All right, so we're gonna talk about Beethoven.
Yeah,
right?
He's a kind of interesting character, Beethoven, because he had a lot of things that he had an interesting life. We will see how, because you know, all people know about Beethoven, the symphonies, and well, let us see.
He's one of those who we may call immortal, you know.
Yeah, because till now we all have his symphonies, maybe not at home, but maybe on phone you can listen to them when you are in the mood of working, or
one
in the mood of relaxing.
One of the people who made history in the world of music.
Of course, he and others like Chopin and like Mozart, all of these are people.
I like the expression when something goes down in history.
Yeah, it's
very
nice.
If something goes down in history, يعني as we say it in Arabic, بيدخل التاريخ.
Yes, there are a lot of things to go out into history. Well, Beethoven, of all the great composers, and by composer we mean the one who makes music, or like the author writes music, Beethoven was probably the one most inclined to brood. He was the one who is most famous. He was moody. Listen to this. Moody, arrogant, and often insulting.
Yeah.
So he could also be warm, affectionate, and good-humored. So he was full of contradictions. Moody, arrogant, insulting, but still warm, affectionate, and good-humored. And by affectionate we mean loving.
Perhaps this is the effect of music on him.
Maybe. Or the effect of him on music, we don't know. You just had to catch him on the right day. So he was so moody, means that sometimes he's sad, sometimes he's happy, sometimes he's mad, sometimes he's calm. His name is Ludwig van Beethoven. He was born in Germany in 16th of December 1770 in Bonn, in a little house on Bongas River. So he is German. And sometimes you call the German people as stiff. Although most of the composers were born in Germany, so they have a nice taste for music. His father was merely a mediocre musician. Also, his father was a musician. Mediocre
not very
means,
talented.
Yeah, not very talented. And he was, sorry to say this, a drunk, actually. So you can imagine what childhood has Beethoven had. He was called Johann van Beethoven. Ludwig's father could come home sometimes late at night, wake the boy from his sleep, and force him to practice the piano or the violin until the morning church bell sounded. So he was harsh with his son, waking him up from his deep sleep to practice. It is said that his sole companion was a spider who would crawl out of the corner and perch on the boy's violin. So it is said that, imagine having his only companion a spider. You would think that after that kind of treatment, music would be the last thing Ludwig wanted to do with his life. Maybe, because of his father's cruelty with him, he would hate music for this. But no, actually, in spite of his father, he grew to love music and became a skilled pianist. Beethoven's father very much wanted the boy to become a musical prodigy. The word prodigy means a genius.
Yeah, a genius child.
A genius child in something like Mozart. Little Beethoven started piano lessons when he was very young. In fact, so small that he had to stand on the piano bench to reach the keys. So he was so young, at 3 for example. His father also told everyone that he was 2 years younger just to make him seem more talented. So in order to make him look like a prodigy, he always reduced in his age, in Beethoven's
But you
age.
can't make somebody a prodigy. You know, it's
It's by
either
nature.
he's born with it or with that talent or not, you know.
Actually, some people try to make their children prodigies, and this is very unfair to the children because maybe they don't have the talent, and this gives a lot of frustration to both parents and children.
Yeah. You know, we usually, the definition of a talent, you know, is a natural ability to
It's
do
inborn.
something.
It's
Yeah.
inborn, inherited.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Beethoven himself didn't know his real age for much of his life because his father used always to reduce his age by 2 years. Beethoven himself didn't know what was his real age. At that time, when they didn't have IDs or something to tell the age, so it was kind of funny and weird at the same time. Beethoven was a grubby little boy, the type who always forgets to wash behind his ears. And by grubby we mean kind of
dirty.
Yeah. He quit school at 11 and by 16 was court organist to the elector. So court organist means kind of in policy. He used to work in policy. He was politics. He was already beginning to compose small pieces and was an absolute whiz at sight reading. Mean that he was very good in it. In 1792, he moved to Vienna. By the way, it's not far from Germany, where he was introduced to a 30-year-old Mozart. So Mozart was older than him at that time. Armed with a letter of introduction from a friend who Mozart knew, he gained entry into Mozart's home and was ushered into the music room to meet his great idol. So Mozart was his great idol. And by idol, we mean like qudwa, or someone you look forward,
Role
look
model,
up for,
like a
yeah,
role
a
model.
role model
Yeah.
for him. So Mozart was his role model.
And also the word idol means it is somebody that you do not just, you know, admire. It is somebody you love so much.
Again, that's right. Like, he is the ideal for you. Mozart was in no mood to receive him, but unfortunately, Mozart was not ready to receive him or to meet him. His health was plaguing him. He had a bad health then. He
had health problems.
Yes, his untimely death at the age of 35 was less than 5 years away. So he was like 30 at that time, and
he died at 35.
Yes, he died at 35. He died so young. And he didn't want to stop working to listen to a child prodigy from somewhere hundreds of miles away. So he was not in the mood. He was not ready to listen to Beethoven. Play something. He told Beethoven. He just said, play something. Beethoven played the opening of Mozart's C minor piano concerto. Not that, said Mozart. So when Beethoven started to play something from Mozart works, Mozart said, not that, said Mozart. Anybody can play that. Play something of your own. He said, play something of your own. Beethoven did, and when the young man had finished, Beethoven had finished, Mozart walked into the dining room where his wife, Constance, was entertaining friends. Stancy, he said. He called for his wife, pointing back into the music room, watch out for that boy. One day he will give the world something to talk about.
Yeah, all right. How about if we just listen
to know why Mozart said this.
Beethoven's
Why
music.
Mozart
Yeah,
said this, yes.
Let's listen to this and we'll be back. So, what a lovely piece of music we've just listened to, and he has a lot of masterpieces, you know.
So let us continue his story.
The story of Beethoven,
Yeah, Beethoven. So as we said that he went to Mozart, and Mozart was impressed, and he told his wife that one day the world will listen to this boy. Mozart actually agreed to take Beethoven on as a student, but unfortunately when Beethoven returned to his lodging, to his house, there was an urgent telegram from his father telling him that his mother was sick and he has to return home immediately. When he left Vienna after just staying for 2 weeks in there. And when he returned back to Vienna after his mother's death or recovery, Mozart was actually dead. Instead, he did take some lessons from Haydn and Salieri, some of the musicians, for a short while, but he was too pig-headed. And notice this expression, pig-headed, like a pig, and this means so stubborn.
Yeah.
He was so stubborn.
Yeah. When he wants to do something, he does it. Yeah.
He did it.
He never changes his attitude.
No, he was just big-headed. And we will know about it later here. He was big-headed to learn much from either of them. Beethoven did stay in Vienna this time and was quite a hit. And he was quite a hit means he was so successful there as a concert pianist. He was regarded as the city's foremost improviser. He can improvise music, not only write it. So while he is just in front of the piano, he can improvise music, just like this.
He just puts his fingers to the keyboard.
And the music comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Contenders would spar in a contest where each would have to improvise on a well-known piece of music. To maintain his position, he would have to crush the competition. So they had competitions for musicians to improvise music, مسابقات لاختلاق or doing music just at time. So he always crushed his competitors. He could be very stubborn when he wanted to be, which was most of the time. If he didn't feel like it, he wouldn't play. So whenever he didn't feel like it, he wouldn't play. Even if, like someone said, you got down on your knees and begged him. Even if you beg him to do music, he would not. Because he's so stubborn. He has to feel like it. And he was one of the aristocracy, actually, and he knew his place. He was so arrogant. He once told off his patron. Patron means like, you know,
those who are providing for him.
Sponsor, something like that.
Protecting, caring for him.
Yeah. He was Prince Lichnowsky. He once said with a remark, there are and there will be thousands of princes, but there's only one Beethoven. So, actually, this is very arrogant. Actually, you might expect with such a hot temper, Beethoven had real trouble keeping servants. They just wouldn't put up with him. So he had trouble keeping his servants. He was very bad-tempered or hot-tempered. And by bad-tempered,
irritable.
Yeah, and so mad and
perhaps
angry.
this is something or a quality that may not make you able to keep or to be good to people or get along with them.
Exactly. Antisocialized. Antisocial. He didn't get along very
well.
So
is he like an introvert?
Yeah. By the way, for your information, most of the artists, whether in music
are introverted.
Are introverts. They have to be. Because being an extrovert won't leave you any time to be creative. So he had to move every few months because the landlords, he didn't get along very well with them. He was a slob, basically, very stubborn and arrogant. When Beethoven came visiting, it was a good idea to hide away the fine porcelain because he used to drop things. So we can consider him also clumsy, and by clumsy we mean someone, whenever he walks,
he hits things, he throws things.
So
you know.
He was kind of things. Kind of interesting, as I told you. He was no better in restaurants. He would leave without paying a bill. So here he is kind of, you know, stingy. Or sometimes absent-mindedly pay for a meal he hadn't ordered. This is absent-mindedness. He scribbled music on the napkins, tablecloths, or menus. He once got so angry at a waiter that he dumped his plate of veal and gravy over the man's head. So bad-tempered again, and he can use the menus or the napkins to write music on. Kind of weird character, actually. He was hardly the tall, dark, and handsome type. He had good teeth, piercing eyes. This is a description of his looking. Piercing eyes and a stern, bookmarked face. He was only 5 feet 4 inches tall, so he wasn't tall. He was short.
Let's say he was short.
Yeah. But actually, he was gaining popularity not only as a pianist, but as a talented composer too. Yet, he began to notice his hearing loss. Let us come to his crisis, actually. He started to lose his hearing
Ability
when he was
or
about
sense?
30, yes. When he was about 30. After a while, it was difficult for him to hear what people were saying. So he just stayed at home as much as possible. He became more introvert.
Yeah.
He wanted it to remain a secret. He didn't want anybody to know that he has lost his hearing sense. If it got any worse, what kind of life waited for a deaf musician?
Yeah.
Because a deaf musician is very hard. And knowing that he was arrogant, he was stubborn, of course he
So
didn't
was he
want
able
this.
to compose any music after that?
We will see. No, actually he composed. But as a pianist, we will see what happened. Would there be any hope of marriage? Also, he thought about it. Will he ever marry with being deaf? Actually, in 1805, a performance of Beethoven's only opera, Fidelio, was announced, and he insisted upon conducting it. There was an opera to be Fidelio, and he insisted, because he was stubborn, to conduct it or to be, the maestro. By this time, his deafness, although never admitted by himself, was common knowledge in society. He didn't admit it, but all people knew it. Of course, you can notice something like this. At the first playing, there was some confusion. The orchestra played ahead of the singer. Nobody had the heart to tell Beethoven that all was wrong, so all of it went wrong. Finally, one of the violinists pretended to be sick in order to allow a short pause and start again. However, the second time was even worse. A friend wrote, "Go home," on a piece of paper and passed it to Beethoven. Finally, he realized what was happening. He threw his badge down and stormed out of the building. He never really recovered from this. He was found at home with his face buried in his hands. So it was a blow for him as a conductor because of his deafness. So before the age of 50, he had lost his hearing entirely. As the years wore on, he broke more and more strings on his piano by pounding the keys trying to hear the sounds. So he hit the piano so to hear the sounds.
How old was he then?
50.
50.
Yeah.
50. You said he died at
No, that's what Mozart.
Mozart.
Yes, died. In the end, he fell apart completely and died in 1827. A witness at his bedside reported that Beethoven came out of his coma and raised an angry fist at the heavens, like this. He was even stubborn when he was dying, actually.
So this is really, can you say it's a sad story or a what?
Actually, I can't consider it sad, because out of this sadness that we can think about came a lot of lovely symphonies. So no, I can't consider it sad. I consider it a typical artist life.
Yeah.
Because most of the artists have this kind of sad lives.
Perhaps this is how they get inspired.
Yeah, actually, you will never find an artist that wrote great works out of happiness. Few of them, but most of them wrote out of sadness.
Yeah.
Sadness is
most
so
of them
related,
have
yes.
suffered much in their lives.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Suffering makes you a great artist or author. Like if you consider Charles Dickens in literature, he had a very sad childhood, and out of this he became a great author.
Yeah, and this is what we may call a blessing in disguise.
Yes, it's a blessing because, well, yes, it's kind of,
Yeah, I mean, you become famous, you become great, you do something really good for humans, and you leave a footprint.
Yes, as Beethoven did actually, because after he was completely dead, he composed large number of pieces, including one of his most famous symphonies, the Symphony Number 9. He might have heard them in his head. He heard them in his head, but never aloud, never in nature. So yes, sadness or disability, let us say, can create a lot of good things.
Yeah, I'm sure that we all know a lot of Beethoven's music, although when we listen to this or that piece of music, we may not say that, we may not know that this is Beethoven's. You just are familiar with the music, but you don't know that it belongs to Beethoven.
No, I think there's one, when I hear it, I'm pretty sure about it.
I'm talking about people in general.
People in general, but still he has a very, very, very famous symphony. It begins with ta 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 ta. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people know this is Beethoven.
Yeah.
Because it's the fifth one, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's listen to one more piece of Beethoven's music, and we'll be back. So that was another of Beethoven's hits, hit music actually. Very interesting music, eternal music.
Yes,
you
it
know.
is actually, and a lot of artists are inspired by the classical music. We have in Egypt a lot of great musicians also. We can't deny this, but it has the Oriental touch.
Yeah.
It has the Oriental touch, yes.
But you know, you always feel that old is gold. Everything
Yeah.
good was in the past.
Whenever you want to relax or want to read a classic book, for example, English literature or something, and you have this music as your background, you feel like you are in heaven for a kind of, you know, half an hour or for an hour. So, yes, music is very heavenly. I consider it very heavenly. Yeah, that music is great. But of course, the classic ones, which is kind of,
I mean, who in this age could rub shoulders with a person like Beethoven?
yeah, nothing. Nobody, even in his time, nobody, he crushed all his competitors, as we said.
Yeah.
So rub his shoulder means that he can compete him. Nobody, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Nobody.
he can't hold a candle to. I mean, nobody can hold a candle to Beethoven. This is another
Yeah,
expression.
very nice one. Although he had a lot of defects in his character, but as a musician, he was the best.
Yeah. When we say that somebody cannot hold a candle to somebody else, it means that they are totally.
He's not
you
up
know,
to him.
Yeah, he's not up to him.
He's not up to him.
The other is much, much better.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Also,
right.
to rub shoulders with somebody,
Yeah.
you know, another expression that shows that one person is great and the other is nothing.
But let us also highlight something that because of his father's pushing for him to practice since he was so young, this of course affected him a lot to be something. Along with his love for music, both of them. We can't love something and not practice it. So for all the people who love something and say, I want to be great in it, no, you have to love something and also work hard for it.
Yeah, and actually learning about the biographies of great people, I guess this is really very useful. It helps
Inspiring.
us, to take good steps in life, and it really inspires us. I'd like to thank you very much, Ms. Heba, for being with us.
Thank you.
For this
for lovely
interesting
music,
episode, the lovely music you
yes,
brought.
pieces, yes.
And I guess, I hope that you try to listen to more of Beethoven's music and put yourself in a good mood. Until we meet you again next time, have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.